What is up, guys? It is the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back. Yes, I'm back from the past, just like Samurai Jack, and today I am here to tell you my top 3 things that I hate about Warhammer 40k. So yes, obviously this channel is all about Warhammer 40k, the lore, a few battle reports sprinkled in here and there, and as of recent, we've been talking about D&D. And as much as we love 40k, there's a few areas where it could be vastly improved. This is all, in my opinion, the Sound Alchemist that is, so everything you hear today is how I feel about the game, the mechanics, the models, etc. Surely you cannot love something without having a little bit of hate in there as well. For the saying goes, what would joy be without pain? You need something to compare something else so that you can actually have results that matter. So that is why today I'm going to start with the least thing that I hate about 40k, but it's still something that I hate nonetheless, and that is building your models, painting your minis. Whew, where do I start? I don't know about you guys, but I started 40k, I believe it was back in my middle school days. And middle school, you're going through puberty, your body's doing weird things. And on top of that, I have plastic arms getting stuck to my fingers instead of being glued to the actual plastic model. Time and time again, I would clip the models off of the sprue, get my super glue, dab it on my model, only to have the model stick to my fingers when I take my hand off of it. This was the most annoying thing. No matter which glue I used, it seemed like nothing would ever remedy this issue. I would hold the freaking model between my thumb and index finger for 30 seconds, sometimes more, only to have that time frame forever be lost to me because, lo and behold, they would not stick. I honestly can't tell you how much this has aggravated me throughout the years. Again, I was only in middle school. I didn't know how to cut things. I didn't know how to, make things stick. And even now, that is a main reason why I haven't built any of the armies that I currently play myself. I usually get them commissioned, or I find them off eBay. Because I hate it. The glue, the plastic, they are horrible. I don't know if this happens to you guys. If it does, let me know down in the comments. And if you have any ways to remedy this, should I be wearing gloves? Should I dip my hand into Vaseline? What do I need to do? Because this is very irksome, and just thinking about it sets me off. And no, not in that way. The second thing that I hate about Warhammer 40k is the way that the lore progresses ever so slowly. I understand in terms of a company looking at things in a business standpoint, you don't want all your eggs in the same basket. Meaning, you're not going to put out epic story after epic story, huge campaign right after your other campaign finishes, because you're going to run out of, ideas, or you're going to run out of your good stuff. The writing is going to go to crap, and you're just going to start it's a whole quality versus quantity thing. You don't want to just hit your audience with a huge amount of things because it's going to get overwhelming. Think of the MCU. What would you do if the MCU literally released everything all at once? Obviously people would see things out of order. They'd be like, ooh, let's watch Endgame first. It's a huge battle. But then that won't hit you as hard as, waiting year after year, going through Iron Man 1, 2, 3, Infinity War and whatnot, getting all these other characters into the mix, so that when you do watch Endgame, it hits you with the feels so much deeper than just looking at it at whoa, it's a big battle, oh, I love this character kind of way. And relating that to 40k, I really want the Primarchs to come out. I want to be able to see how each individual Primarch plays, how each individual Primarch is looking like after they're taking their demon forms, or maybe they got their butts kicked by warp monsters and now they're all missing an arm or they got a new scar. I mean, Forge World has been doing a great job at putting out, their Horus Heresy character series at a pretty good rate. We almost have all the Primarchs ready. However, when it comes to 40k, the lore is just progressing so slow that I feel like I will be out of the game. Like, I won't be playing 40k, I won't be keeping up with the things, and I'm just gonna never see Sanguinius come to life. Because they changed the lore, he's not dead anymore, now he's in stasis. So, it might be another year till we see the Lion returns, meaning it might be another 10 years till we get all the Primarchs in a playable format. And by that point, it'll be not 8th edition, it'll be like 15th edition, and we may not live to see that. So I understand you, GW, you gotta take things slow and steady, so we appreciate crossing the finish line. But at the same time, don't be the turtle in the hair story? Is that a story, or is that just like a saying? It is a story, right? The tortoise in the hair, slow and steady wins the race, that kind of thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I don't like that. Speed it up. Let's move on to the top thing that I hate about Warhammer 40k, and I think this is a point that hits everybody at home, or should I say, it hits everybody in the wallet. Warhammer 40k is an expensive hobby. One of the more expensive hobbies that I have ever had. I mean, obviously, if you're into cars, collecting classic cars or customizing cars, that's an expensive hobby. But this is expensive for, in my opinion, just to be expensive. I mean, when you think of like Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering, yeah, you have those cards that are worth, a couple $100s, or in Magic's case, thousands of dollars if you hit like the Black Lotus or whatnot. But 40k, they charge you like $50 for plastic that you can cut and build and make into 5 figures, that you then have to buy cutting tools, painting tools, washes, brushes, basing stuff, and it just goes on and on and on. And the thing about this is, you can't play 40k as soon as you buy the box. You have to research, get the rule book, know how to play, figure out what army you want to play. Once you got that figured out, you have to buy your codex. Once you bought your codex, read through the codex, understand the lore, figure out what faction of the army that you want to play do you want to field. Once you field it, you have to figure out how many points are we playing, what should I buy, 1 HQ, 2 troops, cut, buy the utensils to cut it, buy the color scheme that you want that certain faction to be, paint it, build it, make sure that if you want to build it, do you want to magnetize it, buy the magnets, if not, glue it. Oh wait, this weapon isn't good anymore, buy the box again, get the right weapon, glue that weapon, build it, paint it. It takes time, and as we all know, time is money, baby. So the more time you spend into buying all these things, the more time you have to spend into creating it, and all in all, it could be a long time until you and your friends are ready to play, and by then, maybe your friends aren't into 40k anymore. So, it sucks, because if you do want to jump into 40k and play right away, you gotta drop like at least, I don't know, $500. Get that painted, built right away, and then you can play. But that's only if your other friends have also dropped that much money, built it, and painted it all while having to deal with time and living the rest of your life, going to school, going to work. You have girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, husband, kids, that kind of thing. It's time consuming, and you gotta find time to really get into this hobby. 40k requires your time and your money and your creativity, because as awesome as 40k is, there's a lot of creativeness that goes into it, and that takes time. For example, say you want to play orcs, but your orcs have beaten a massive chaos incursion, and now they're using the armor of the fallen chaos space marines. So now you gotta buy another box to get the bits to put on your army, to make your army that customizable. So as you see, it all snowballs, but it snowballs into an awesome snowball that you can throw around and have fun with. Until next edition, where your models aren't good anymore, and now you have to buy the other models, and so it continues on and on and on and on and on again, until your wallet is dry and you're homeless, but hey, at least you still have your plastic minis. And there you have it. Those were the top 3 things that I hate about Warhammer 40k. This game has a lot of blessings to it. It has a lot of things that many sci-fi people like, has a lot of things that gamers like, and overall, it is a very enticing universe that you can enjoy from many angles. And one of those angles is the lore. When it comes to Warhammer 40k, of course playing the game is fun and all, but one of the things that really keeps me coming back for more is the intricacies of the lore, whether it evolves from the current timeline with like the Primarchs Marine, Gilliman going out there fighting chaos, or even the Horus Heresy, where you've got all the Primarchs together fighting as one cohesive unit to unify humanity, or even going back further in time to like the War in Heaven, the Dark Age of technology and whatnot. No matter what era of the Warhammer universe that you're in, it is always something amazing. Not just in the form of the Imperium, like the Horus Heresy was great and all, but you could also dive into like the lore behind the Dark Eldar. Why are they the way they are? They have their own pantheon of gods. How does that tie in with the old ones? And even though each race is different, I feel like there's a key element that brings them all in together, that being the old ones. And the old ones are so tied with mystery that, again, you just don't know exactly what to expect, but every time you come to that aspect of the lore, you know that you're gonna enjoy it no matter what. And I gave a huge props to GW for having writers that can flesh out the symbolisms, the themes and everything for their armies, their races, and their main characters. And that's how you bring people coming back. You don't just say, hey, this guy is really good on the battlefield. You go, hey, this guy is really good on the battlefield because of X, Y, and Z that he's done through his campaigns, notable battles, maybe a weapon that he saw or that he found. And that's how you make a gaming type badass sound really good, by fluffing him up with the lore. The second aspect that I really enjoy about the hobby, or Warhammer 40k in general, is the amount of creative freedom that they give you. For example, if you want to play an army, go ahead and paint your army any way you want, field the army any way you want, go ahead, have fun. It doesn't have to be necessarily a exact copy from the lore. If you want to play Ultramarines, paint them green if you want. If you want to play Space Wolves but don't have any wolves in it, make it all like a, I don't know, all long fangs. Go ahead and do it. They really give you a lot of freedom to make the army truly yours. But at the same time, if you really want to emulate an army that's been, 100% talked about in the lore, you've got this captain with this scar on his right hand, they're jungle fighters, or they're really adept at fighting at long range, go ahead and make your army exactly that. the amount of bits that you can combine, the you could even use the unbound section of your army. Yes, you won't be able to use command points and stuff like that. Stratagems won't be there, but at the same time, you take that away to give yourselves a more creative army instead of just the cookie cutter ones, which obviously if you're playing tournaments it's probably better to have stratagems instead of just going all out with the unbound rules. The other thing that I really enjoy is the Lost Legions. The 2nd and the 11th Legions of Space Marines were obliterated from history. All likelinesses, all symbols, and anything that has to do with these two have been expunged from Imperial records, and because of that, that gives you, or us, the players, a nice, awesome blank slate to create and make our own. And that's what I've been doing with my Celestial Sons. Shameless plug here. Go check out the playlists for my Celestial Sons. Really awesome, because I have them be a Lost Legion that could easily fit with the lore of 40k. And you can do this yourself. Maybe you want like Space Marines that are all about like the Amazon or like jungles and stuff like that. You could flavor your army to be just that. The other thing too, that even though you're playing 40k, the rules and whatnot kind of also help with other miniatures. Say you want to play an awesome demon prince that has been ruling a demon world that is underwater. You could kit bash that with any model you want. Doesn't even have to be 40k. Go to your, I was gonna say Toys R Us, but sadly those are out of business. You can go to your local hobby store, gaming shop, whatever, and just find an awesome looking dragon, and boom, you could use that as a stand-in for your demon prince. Again, that's mostly like house rules and stuff. You can't use that in tournaments, but the idea of having any model represent a character's stats can easily work with the way that Warhammer 40k has designed its rules and whatnot. So creativity is a huge, huge boost that lets me love to play Warhammer 40k in a different way than the traditional sense. And lastly, the last thing that I'm going to talk about that I really enjoy about Warhammer 40k is I don't even know if this counts, but the exposure that it's getting. 40k has become a game that's not so looked down upon. Like, I remember back in 5th edition, like, I would kind of hide the fact that I played this war game, or like, they ask, oh, what are you playing, or what are those toys you have? I'm like, oh, it's Warhammer 40k, and they'd be like, what? What is that? Like, I've never heard of it. And that happens even more so, like, or not more so, but that still happens today. Like, for example, people at work or whatever, they're like, oh, you have a YouTube channel? What do you do? What do you talk about? And I'm like, Warhammer 40k, and they're like, what's that? So, even though it has its own, I guess, fan base, its own community, I feel like it's becoming widely more popular and more people are starting to be okay with it, which I think it's kind of because of the whole wave of like the nerdy is now in, or it's cool, especially with like D&D. All like Stranger Things has pushed D&D into more of a wider audience, and I definitely see a lot more people nowadays getting into Dungeons and Dragons, and I feel like 40k is getting up there in that, I guess, in the sense of that, especially with the games that they come out. Not only is Warhammer 40k just a tabletop game, there used to be a card game. You could play it on your mobile phone in a different type of way. Like, I know there's like Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar stuff on there. I think there's like a Titan game on there as well. You could play a whole bunch of strategy games on the computer. Inquisitor, the Dawn of War series, and they even have some games on console, such as Space Marine. Space Marine, I have to say, to date, has been the best Warhammer 40k game that I've played, with the Dawn of War series coming in a close second. And those games, they're most of the time they're not as great as you would hope them to be. Like, you're not gonna see them hit the mainstream and be like a really big game where it gets 10 out of 10 and you see hundreds of people playing it on Twitch or streaming it or whatever. But I feel like it'll get there soon, especially now with the announcement of the live action movie for Inquisitor Eisenhorn. That's definitely going to bring more people awareness into 40k, and hopefully sooner more than later 40k will be brought into the limelight and you could see it gather a bigger player base and just overall more publicity to it, because the more people that know about this, the more people that would play it, and overall the more people that spend money on it. And more money for GW means more things for us players, be it 2 Primarch releases in a year, or more video games, or more movies, something along the lines of that. And overall, that's just benefiting us, the players, as well as the company, and it's a win-win in my opinion. So I'm not really sure if that counts as with my top favorite things, but I really do enjoy that 40k is getting the more love that it deserves, because it really is a very, very awesome universe. It could easily rival that of Star Wars. Like, as big as Star Wars is, I feel like 40k can rival that if it gets more exposure, and it slowly is. Just imagine if we get like these epic cinematic universe expanding movies on like following the Space Marines, or if Eisenhorn does really well, maybe we get to see Lord Solar Macarius, I believe that was the name of like one of the best Imperial Guard generals or whatever, who unified a whole section of the galaxy, and after his death it kind of all went to shit. But anyway, I'm just looking forward to something along these lines, hopefully in the near future. But anyway, those were my top 3 things that I really enjoy about Warhammer 40k. In summary, I love the creativity that the game allows you to play with your conversions and stuff like that. And I really love the lore and how rich and deep it is. And lastly, I like that this game is growing, and a growing game is good for everyone. So this has been all positivity, but go balance that out with the top 3 things that I hate about Warhammer 40k. And also, hit us up on the comments. I want to know what your top 3 best and dislikes on this game that we all love and enjoy, and we'll keep the conversation going there. As always, I have been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll see you guys next time.